I was on a solo road trip from Atlanta to Denver, just trying to take the scenic route. I liked the peace of the back roads. There was no crowds, no interstates, nothing. I was 22 and naive at the time. I didn't check local histories. I didn't know what a sundown town was, but I do now. Around 6:45 p.m. I realized I was nearly out of gas. I pulled off into a quiet town in Arkansas called Harrison. It looked old-fashioned and calm, and there was a gas station, diner, barber shop, and American flags in every window. I thought nothing of it. But the second that I stepped out of my car, I felt something was wrong. It wasn't just people staring. It was how still the town was, like it had stopped moving. Even the birds were gone. A group of white men were sitting on a bench outside the diner, and they all turned in sync. I remember one of them chewing sunflower seeds. He just stopped and let one fall out of his mouth when he saw me. I smiled politely and I nodded, but no one nodded back. The gas station itself was nearly empty. It was one car at the pump, lights buzzing above me. So I went inside to pay. And the woman behind the counter, she looked like she had seen a ghost. She was white, probably in her 60s. I asked for 20 on pump 3. Then she said something I'll never forget. You gotta go before dark. I kind of laughed nervously. What do you mean? She looked around. Some towns just ain't meant for everyone. You understand? I didn't, not yet. As I turned to leave, a man in overalls walked in. He froze when he saw me. He didn't say a word, he just turned back around and walked out. When I stepped outside, my car was being circled by another man. He was tall, with a red trucker hat on. He had tattoos I didn't recognize but felt racist just looking at them. He stopped when I approached, and he said, "You're not from around here, huh?" And I said, "Nope, just passing through." He smiled without humor. "Yeah, you better be." Then he looked at the sun and he said, "Almost gone." I got in my car. The guy didn't move for a second, he just stood there, like he was waiting for someone. And then he walked off, not back to the station, but across the street. I saw him wave to someone I couldn't see in the shadows. I drove off faster than I should have. 2 blocks later, headlights came on behind me. It was a pickup truck. It was old with a loud engine. It didn't follow close, it was smarter than that. Or at least whoever was driving it was. It hung just far enough back that it wouldn't be obvious to anyone else, but I knew. Every time I changed lanes, it did too. When I sped up, it did. When I tried pulling into a random parking lot, it paused on the side of the road and waited. Eventually, I hit a more populated road, then the county line, and like that, the truck was gone. I pulled over 20 miles later and sat there shaking. I looked up the town of Harrison, and I found out it's been labeled one of the most racist cities in America, headquarters for a few hate groups like the KKK. It was been a sundown town since the early 1900s. Signs used to hang at the edge of town, and they said, "Don't let the sun set on you here." They don't have the signs anymore, but the people, they're still there. They're still watching. I went on a trip with my girlfriend. The trip was supposed to be romantic, me and Maya. We had been dating for about a year. I wanted to do something special for her, something quiet. So we found a cabin near Shawnee National Forest in Illinois, just outside a small town called Anna. The place looked cute online. It had old school charm, hiking trails, and good food. but we should have looked deeper. From the moment we got to town, people stared at Maya like she was a circus act. She's black, I'm mixed, and I usually pass as white. But when we were together, people noticed. The diner we stopped at was the first red flag. Our waitress avoided eye contact. Everyone else looked like they were trying not to. It felt like being watched through a two-way mirror. Later at a gas station, the cashier handed me a receipt and whispered, "Don't stay out late. Not around here." She said it fast like she wasn't supposed to warn us. That night, we sat on the porch of the cabin. The sun had just dipped, and there was this heavy silence, and it wasn't peaceful, just off. I asked Maya if she was okay. She didn't even look at me when she answered me. She said, "We need to leave tomorrow." So I didn't argue. But we needed snacks, so we made a real quick drive back in town. That's when I noticed the sign near the edge of the trees. It was rusted and weather-worn. It was hidden behind some brush, but still visible. It says, "Anna welcomes you. Ain't no N-words allowed." I stopped breathing. I didn't tell Maya. I didn't want to scare her, actually. So, inside the store, we grabbed what we needed fast. There was a man in the corner sitting still as a statue. He never spoke. He just watched as we left. I saw him follow us out, and that was the first time he moved. Then I noticed a car parked beside ours. It was an old Crown Vic with tinted windows, with the motor idling. We got in the car and we drove away. The Crown Vic pulled out right behind us. Then another truck turned onto the same road. There was no headlights, no passing, just following us. The road back to the cabin was pitch black. We also didn't have any cell phone service, just trees and gravel. So I took a hard turn down the side trail. I didn't even know where it led. So for about 10 minutes, I drove blind, waiting for a crash, a deer, something to happen. Eventually, we saw the headlights vanish behind us. We didn't sleep that night. Maya held a knife from the kitchen the entire time. Around 4 a.m., we heard footsteps outside. Then we heard the doorknob jiggling as if someone was trying to get into our room, but real sneaky like. There was no knock, no lights, just slow crunching of the gravel. And then there was a whisper, but I couldn't hear them. I still don't know what they said. But it was right outside the bedroom door, just whispering. We left before dawn. No refunds, no breakfast, we just drove. When I got back home, I looked up that town, and it turns out that Anna, which is spelled A-N-N-A, has long been said to stand for Ain't No N-Words Allowed. And it wasn't a rumor, it wasn't even a joke, it was a warning. If you're listening to this, just don't go into that town. When I was 19, I thought I knew everything. My friends and I were driving back to Indy from a concert in Bloomington. It was late, it was around 11:30 p.m. We were low on gas and I told them not to stop in Martinsville. My dad had told me these stories about Martinsville. Back in the day, it was known as a sundown town. And while some of that sounded like old fear, something in his voice always made me believe it. Caleb, my friend, waved it off. He said that stuff was over. It was the 90s. And he laughed. He said, "We'll be fine." Honestly, we weren't. We pulled into a Shell gas station just off the main road, and it was empty. It was lit by flickering overheads and buzzing bulbs. I got out and instantly felt exposed, like I'd stepped onto stage and where I didn't belong. No one else was there. The quiet was eerie. There were no cars, no insects, just the buzz of lights and a faint humming sound. But then I went inside. The woman at the counter didn't speak, she just stared at me. She looked at me, up and down, and then my two friends behind me. She said, "You boys shouldn't be here right now." And I asked why. She said, "Because some folks around here, they watch the clock, and it's almost midnight." Then she picked up the phone and started to dial. I ran outside and I told Caleb to hurry up. He had gone into the restroom. When he came out, he looked like he had seen a corpse. He said, "Dude," he whispered, "there's flyers in there, swastikas, Klan meetings, a news poster taped to the mirror." That's when we saw the trucks, 2 of them, pulling into the lot. They were big and lifted with Confederate flags in the back of them. And the people inside, they were laughing. One guy had on a mask like a hunter's face covering. I didn't wait to find out more. We peeled out and the tires were screeching. They followed and they were turning their high beams on and off. And then they toyed with us, honestly. For the next 20 miles, they stayed behind us. They never passed us. They never honked, just followed. One of the trucks pulled up right beside us at a light. The driver leaned out of the window and made a throat-cutting motion. We ran that red light and we didn't stop again. Once we crossed into the next county, they were gone, just vanished, like they were never there. But they were. And so were the signs in Martinsville. The whispers, the hate. The town didn't need fences or checkpoints, just silence and the eyes that they had. I don't know. This made me more weary and careful of towns that I stopped through.
Nightmare Files.